Good morning, everyone. My name is Janik Alford, and I'm super pleased to present a project that I've been working on for the last couple of months to help you interact with and maximize your capabilities by using generative AI. And that tool is called mPersona. mPersona is a free and open source application that you can use to build custom instruction sets for large language models, which I call personas, which will radically help enhance your productivity in your personal life, for your business, or even as part of a large organization. And over this video and the next 4 videos in this 5-part series, I'm going to be walking through the core concepts. I'm going to be talking about mPersona as a technology, but more generally around the possibility of large language models and generative AI beyond just chat tools. And I'm going to be showing you from start to finish how you can use this free tool. You can deploy it into your own data center. You can run it locally on your own PC. And you can unlock the capability of large language models, which will save you both a ton of time, and because it's free and open source, it will also save you a ton of money. And over this series, I'm going to take you through step by step each part of that. I'm going to explain the core concepts, why I built the tool, and how you can use it. And as well, I'm going to provide a technical deep dive for those who are inclined to walk through the code and to even understand how to deploy it into your own Azure cloud environment, and also where the technology is headed. So I hope these videos are helpful. If you do appreciate the insight and want to engage further around mPersona, or anything else in the context of generative AI, I'm always open. You can connect with me on X, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message, or you can find me right through the mPersona site, or sign up to receive more updates around mPersona and other tools that I'm working on. With that being said, let's dive in and have a look at the tool, how it works, and how you can start to use it for your own purposes. So first and foremost, let's look at the key elements of it. So like I said, mPersona is free and open source. And right now it has integrations with Anthropic Claude, GPT, and OpenAI, or Azure OpenAI. So why did I build it? Well, the number one reason is when I started to play around with generative AI a couple of years ago, I realized that most people look at AI as a chatbot, effectively. I ask it something, it does something. But large language models are capable of so much more. The second one was, personally, I needed a way to orchestrate complex tasks between people using AI, but in fact, entire teams of AI, what I call personas. And a persona in this case, you're going to hear me use that term a lot, is an instruction set that tells the large language model how to perform a task and how to interact in a predictable, a reliable way. So mPersona allows you to build multiple different personas and then integrate and orchestrate them so that these personas interact and that you can maximize and really expand the use beyond this chat function that we're trying to get away from. Now, inherently, we understand this concept that different people have different skills, and the same concept applies when we're talking about AI personas. So if you create an AI persona that is going to work with you in finance and accounting, for example, and then you create another one which is a developer, you can interact with those two personas distinctly, and you can understand that one is intended to do one task and one is intended to do the other. And so we have this inherent human ability to distinguish between people and build kind of an idea of what they're capable of. I'm applying that same concept into the large language world, and that's how we end up with this concept of personas. And so I actually think it's an easier way to understand and explain the ability of large language models and AI if we relate it back to something that we feel very familiar with. The fourth reason is, as technology evolves, I wanted a consistent platform that would allow you to tap into the best that the market really has to offer. So as new large language models or generative AI models come out, having a common platform which can house all of your information around your personas and your instructions and your knowledge means that you can simply just shift over as new technologies come out And that's really powerful because that means you're not stuck with one technology vendor. You don't have what's called vendor lock-in, where you can really only work with one technology because you've sort of made a commitment and it's hard to move away. So open source mPersona allows you to avoid that, which is great. It's not, and so the fifth reason is, as I started to interact with large language models, I began to realize that yes, they have value, but the real value that's being created on top of them are really those persona instructions. And ultimately, I think that's what you will find the most valuable individually and as your organization, to build and share those models to be able to maximize the productivity of your team. So as you move from task to task, you may in fact take with you a whole set of different personas that you can use to either automate sort of day-to-day tasks, or be just general assistance, or orchestrate to automate really kind of any task you come across. The sixth reason is I have personally used this tool to create hundreds of personas so far to better manage my own life and my own business. I use them nearly every single day to to do day-to-day tasks, to help me learn and understand, to help me develop lesson plans for my children. That's fantastic because it allows me to quickly do tasks that I might not otherwise do. And so there we see the ability to expand your capability, not just sort of replace your tasks. Like I mentioned, once you have these personas, you can actually start to think more in a systems way and develop means of interaction between them, which is quite powerful. You can also share these personas with your family, your team, your business, to boost productivity across your organization. So as you're seeing what you can do, well, mPersona allows you to extract that information and share it, or collaborate with other people, invite them in to co-build different AI personas, and then really maximize what you can do as a community. The ninth reason there you see on the screen: leveraging free and open source will save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Now, large language models are a big business, and using open source, we can tap in and maximize that. So if you have a team of 30 people and you're going to go buy a Copilot license, which there's nothing wrong with Copilot, there's nothing wrong with OpenAI, but those licenses will cost you between $20 and $30 per month per person. Well, a team of 30 people, suddenly you're paying $900 a month, and that can add up. And so using free and open source tools like mPersona, you can actually tap into these large language model capabilities and do a lot of the same things that those more enterprise tools will do. And finally, for me personally, the reason I built the tool is because it's fun to learn. And I wanted a project that would allow me to dive deep and hone my particular skills in both development, but also understanding the possibilities of generative AI, and, as importantly, the shortcomings. Because this technology is somewhat at its infancy, and we want to be able to scale and understand our knowledge as a group of, as individuals and as professionals, to really keep track with where the market is headed. So the best way to do that: dive in, learn, interact, and if you're technically inclined, build some tools. So here's the interface. It's mpersona.com. And when you get there, you can immediately start interacting with various large language models. So by default, I have these 4 models activated. We have Azure GPT-4, Azure OpenAI, Claude 2.1 Instant, and Claude 2.1. So I have it default to 2.1 Instant because you'll see it's very fast. So if you ask it something, tell me about Canada, which is where I'm from, Claude 2.1 is one of the fastest language models, and it can immediately tell you interesting information that it has embedded in its large language model. If you go down the page, you can also see that you can create a free account and interact with any of these large language models yourself. So we'll go through and do that in a minute. And you can also see some of the key features I just talked about: building unique personas, equipping them with knowledge, interacting with large language models, and automating complex tasks. That's really what we're getting at here. As mentioned, mPersona is absolutely free and open source under MIT license, which means you can do anything you like with it. You don't have to use the .com version. And in fact, I encourage you not to. I encourage you to go and set up your own instance so that you are managing your own data and it's inside your own use case. But the .com is available really there for testing and alpha testing and beta testing as new features get developed. And it's a means for you, like I said, to put your toe into the water with different large language models without having to either invest in the startup cost or the time to go around and explore and experiment with different models and things like that. By default, I publish out a series of relatively simple personas that you can take advantage of right away. So, you see a few here. This list will change and evolve week by week as I create different personas and interact with them. But you have a briefing note author, a business analyst. You can talk to default GPT with no persona. You also have different tools that I use: English and French translation. I use executive speaking notes in my day-to-day. The one that I use primarily is this one. Actually, if you click on any persona, you can actually chat with it immediately. So this is the JavaScript developer persona. So mPersona is built using JavaScript. And in fact, I used this tool. It was one of the first tools that I built, one of the first personas, to actually help build mPersona. So I would say probably about 50% of the code in mPersona was actually written by the AI itself, which is very interesting, very meta way of developing where you're using an AI tool to develop an AI interface. So you can think about that and ponder that. But that is where we're at today, where you can use these tools rapidly to build new tools and to build even AI tools as well. So it's quite interesting. So we'll just go back to the homepage. And so I have a few different personas there that you can interact with, and like I showed you, you can just pick one, and you can start to chat and interact, and so that's the fundamental concept of it. I'm going to go show you here. I'm going to log out, and I'm just going to create a new account. So I'm going to hit join. Oops, I'm going to hit join, and I'm going to create a username, which is going to be demo user, right? So you can put in an optional email. So again, it's not required, but it will be used for password resets. You can pick a role if you like, and then for your own insight, you can put some notes into your own account as well. So what are you trying to do? I want to automate my new startup business. Great. So you can create an account. So your account is created successfully, and you're instantly logged in. And so then once you're logged in, you can click on your demo user. So right from the beginning, the .com service, it gives you 10 million characters of use. That means you can input into these language models up to 10 million characters. It is a free subscription, so there is no renewal. We don't even need an email account, like I said. And one of the interesting things about your account, just very quickly, is if you want to go beyond the 10 million characters that I make available for free, you can in fact bring your own key there, your own OpenAI key, or your Anthropic or your Azure OpenAI, which requires a key and an endpoint. And you can then use these variables to interact with your own service, your own paid subscription service. That way, it doesn't cost any of your characters that you have in your account. You have unlimited usage at that point, and you can just use the tool. And at the bottom, you can also do a couple important things. You can manage your data, so you can download every single piece of information that you put into the tool. That is super helpful for backup. But it's also helpful if you want to use different services or whatever you want to do with that information downstream. So if you want, you just click download data. And you can also upload data. So you can create a different account if you want. You can upload data back into it, etc. So that's a great way of sharing information as well with others if you wanted to send them something. You can also delete all of your account data. So this will completely remove all of your data from the .com instance or your own instance if you're running it there. Or you can delete your account, which will not delete your data, but it will delete your account. So if you go on and create some data and share it with your team, you might not want to delete everything, even if you do, in fact, decide to delete your account. So you can hit delete data, and all your data gets deleted. And if you hit delete account, then your account's gone as well. So a little bit of a word of caution, just use it carefully and think before you click delete, because once it's gone, it truly is gone, and nothing is kept once you delete your data in your account. So let's actually start to interact with some of these large language models, and I'll show you interacting. You can click on any of these and you can interact with them. You have a few options here. You have the large language model that you're using. So let's pick OpenAI GPT. And then you can start to interact with it. And this is a very traditional chat window. So tell me about Canada's AI policy. Let's see what it says. So there is a pan-Canadian AI strategy. There's CIFAR. There's Canadian Digital Charter, the AIA, Algorithmic Impact Assessment, and then so on and so forth. So it's giving you some general information. As you see, it's last updated in early 2023. So I think that was April or March 2023. So it's about a year old now. And it's given us some general information. And so you can continue to chat. You can tell me more, like tell me more about the AIA. The AIA. And so it'll go in and it will expand on these things. So this is very similar. It's in fact identical to the Chat GPT service that OpenAI has popularized. So this idea of going back and forth and chatting and interacting. Like ChatGPT, you can also add files into it. So while it's writing there, I'm going to show you this other button here. So you can bring in documents, Excel, JSON, which is a JavaScript object notation, JavaScript, YAML, text, HTML, a whole bunch of different files. And so you can, in fact, open up what you want. And I've gone and downloaded this file, in fact. I've come to download this guide on the use of generative AI. So this is a relatively new set of policies around AI use in the government and in Canada. So it talks about the FASTER principles. So you can go around and you can download information here, and you can actually bring it into the tool and bring it into your chat. So bring it in. And you see that we've attached this file here. And so then I can actually just say, tell me about this file. And it'll go through and it will read the file and it will write you a response based on it. And so this is super helpful because what you can do is, in fact, you can select a whole bunch of files, an unlimited amount, effectively, of files, and you can load them into the mPersona, and you can interact with them in a really dynamic way. And so these files aren't sent anywhere; they're just in your browser locally. But when you do check them and then you interact, it actually reads the files that you have checked. So if I loaded a different file, in my next prompt, I could uncheck this file, check that one, and then it would be on to knowing that. And so that's super handy. That's one of the most effective ways of getting maximizing the value of large language models, is to quickly start to interact and chat with it. Using your data that you bring to the table. So that's going to give it a very kind of specific and a very deep insight into what you're talking about, instead of the sort of general insight that it has as a large language model in general. So that's the chat function. If you log in, so I'm gonna join. I'm gonna create a new demo user. Account here. I'm going to log in. I'm going to hit create account. Oops, my password. So you have to have, your passwords have to match. That helps. So I've created an account, and then I'm going to go to personas, and I can actually build a new one. So I'm going to say add new. And when you're building a persona, you're really doing a couple of things. First of all, you can give it a face, right? So we're going to use generative AI, and I'm going to have a smiling and friendly office worker in a modern tech office. So I'm going to let it generate that. I'm going to make a persona that's going to allow me to write technical documents. So technical document writer, and I'm going to give a description. So writes sophisticated tech documents highlighting the use of Gen AI. Let's do that. And then I can give it some instructions. So in your persona instruction, you describe to the large language model essentially what it's supposed to be doing. So in this case, it's a technical writer. You're a technical writer responsible for creating documents which explain how generative AI and LLMs are being used in a business context. So you can imagine if you worked in an environment where folks were starting to develop AIs, this would be a handy persona to help you write specific technical documents. As a technical writer, you must provide a very clear set of text instructions, and I actually give it some tasks to do to get started. So things you must do. You have to interview your client with 4 questions before you begin your tasks. The questions are, what are you trying to achieve? Where will it be used? What's the technology? And then what's the most important thing? And then once you've gathered that, you go ahead and write the document following the format outlined below. So it's pretty straightforward. I've given it some additional best practice tasks, which have actually been generated by an AI itself in terms of technical writing. And then I give it a document structure. And so this is what I'm asking the AI to always give me kind of this clear, consistent structure following my own style guide. And so again, depending on where you work or depending on the things that you do, again, even if it's making a recipe or a lesson plan or a to-do list, giving a persona these instructions is super helpful because it means that you can always get it in a very reliable and specific format. So if we're happy with that, we can go ahead and create that persona, and then let's go and chat with it. So we'll go back to our home page. We'll go down and find our technical document writer. So let's start interacting with it. I want you to write me a technical document for my Gen AI app called mPersona. Use OpenAI. And so it should go, it's going to ask the questions. So can you answer the following questions? What are you trying to achieve with mPersona? So there we go. So I've answered its 4 questions. So it's now going to outline a technical document. So it's going to describe, it's going to go through, define the target audience, software developers and engineers to integrate mPersona. It's going to also say technical analysts, open source contributors. The technical level will be intermediate to advanced, and the assumption that the readers will have a basic understanding of Gen AI. It goes now is laying out the key topics, so introduction to Gen AI, overview of mPersona, setting up the environment, etc., integrating. And now, in fact, it's writing the document. So here's the actual document structure. Title page, document title, mPersona technical document, introduction, purpose, background. So this is the table of contents. Effectively, it's going step by step, and then through your interactions now you can, because we've told it to expand on each section, you can now actually say, well, I want you to write a set of common use cases for generative AI. Like that's one of the things. And it's written a problem statement. So write some use cases for Gen AI. So based on the structure, we now start to go deeper and we start to interact with it. And if we wanted, we could be adding our own technical documentation here. So if you actually had a style guide, or if I had exported out the Miro board that I showed you, you could actually load that in. That would provide tons of context to the tool, for example. And so forth. So I can actually go and copy this information, and I can bring it back in, and I can paste it in and say, use this info to write a more detailed description of the technology and how it can be used. So paste that in there. And I just actually brought in the Miro board. And so now it's actually going to rewrite it there. And we're off to the races here. So, so there I've created a persona. We've given it some instruction, and now we can interact with it, and we can actually use it. We can feed it more data. And now it's using the information I've given it to now actually write a more in-depth thing, because it didn't know what mPersona was, because its knowledge is out of date. mPersona is only a couple months old, so it's now used the Miro board, and it's building that out, right? So It's going through and really doing a pretty good job at a high level, step by step, of areas that we would need to fill in. And in fact, the last step that I would probably do, which I won't do right now, is I could even bring in the code, right? And then it'll read the code, it'll understand it, and it'll actually be able to write and fill in the rest of the technical documentation. So that's a means of interacting with, building a persona and interacting with it. Once you have a persona, by the way, you can share it. So you have your persona there. If you want somebody else to be able to view it, you can create a viewer link, or you can create an editor link. And once you've created those links, then you can copy those links. You can send them off to somebody else. And then you can also propose for publishing. So if you if you're an administrator, you can publish this right to your mPersona instance so that everybody can access it, who can access the app. If you're not an administrator, this is a demo account, then you can actually just hit propose for publishing, and an admin will be able to see that, and then the admin can go and publish it out on your behalf. So if I was logged in as an admin account, I could publish this to the .com site, and then everybody could use it at that point. At any time, you can go and change the picture, you can update the persona instructions, and so forth. So that's the high-level use of the tool. I encourage you to go check it out and interact with it, play with it, explore, and I always love your feedback. In the next videos, we're going to go in and do a deep dive into really how to unlock the capabilities of large language models through orchestrating interactions between multiple personas. So I'll do a whole session on that. I'm also going to do a code review session, so I'm going to walk through both the back-end code, which does all of the data management and the business logic, and then I'm going to walk through the front-end code, which is interacting with the back-end, managing your personas and visualizing things. So I'm going to walk through both of those. It's really geared towards technical people, but everyone's welcome if you want to learn a little bit about coding and what goes into building a tool like mPersona. The fourth session, I'm going to show you how to use the Azure cloud to do a deployment into your own environment so that you are not using the .com version. All of your data is fully housed in your own environment. I'll show you first how to run it locally and test it and run it on your own machine, because you really don't need anything special. And then I'll show you how to use GitHub Actions to just deploy it directly into your own subscription. So both of them are quite easy. And then in the fifth session, I'm going to spend a few minutes and I'm going to talk about where do we go next here with the technology. We can't expect generative AI to really look anything like what it looks like today. And I guarantee you it is not a chatbot. It is so much more. And as soon as you start to gain an understanding about how it can be used, you're going to start to come up with ideas in your own personal life, in your business, or in your enterprise team, in your organization. And you can start to propose new ideas to find efficiencies and make your life easier, faster, and more productive using generative AI. So I thank you so much for your time. I hope this was interesting, and I hope you will join me for those other sessions where I talk through exactly how to do those step-by-step pieces, do the technical deep dive. If you're interested in following along, you can follow me on X. I'm at Janik Alford, or you can follow me on LinkedIn. And I'll be sharing these videos, and I'll be sharing posts and updates there as I go through. Or if you're technically inclined, you can go check out the GitHub. Like I mentioned, everything here is on the GitHub. So you have the Vue and the Node code. So you can just jump into the code. You can, if you want, if you have an issue with it, you can pop me an issue, right? So you can drop an issue in there. If you create something cool, because it's open source, you can even do what's called a pull request. So if you actually create a different branch of this and you think that, here's a cool feature that would be great as part of the open source community, flip me a pull request. I would love to review it and chat with you about it. Or if you want to just chat more deeply around generative AI, I'm always open to chat. I love where the technology is headed. And finally, a little call out. If I am working on already a version 2 of this, if you're interested to see that technology evolving, I'm doing some features there, making it far more interactive, accessible, bilingual, and I'm integrating with more large language models, more generative AI, and I'm also doing some pretty cool things around knowledge management. So giving deep knowledge to your large language model to truly gain an insight and understanding into what you do. And then finally, there's some technical information at the bottom that you can share with others if they're curious. So thank you so much again for your time. I really look forward to interacting with you. I look forward to seeing the kinds of personas that you build, and I can't wait to see what you do with the technology. So thank you so much.